And welcome into this week's episode of Craze's Corner. We have a Dynasty tradeaway show today. So some guys maybe you want to offload on your roster, get rid of them before their value declines, or capitalize just because their value is so high at the moment. We got Jeff and Will from Media. All new Media app is coming out super soon. You guys are going to love it. So make sure you guys go check that out. Welcome in, guys. How are we doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Doing great. Football. It's the night before football.
Yeah, the night before football for us. This will be coming out the day football starts. So you guys definitely, maybe you want to make a trade before your league start, before the league year starts, or maybe just you want to make a trade after week one. We got three guys here you maybe want to try and get off of your rosters. We got two running backs, a wide receiver. I'm going to start with the wide receiver. It's a guy I've been hyping up all offseason because I think he could be a top 10 wide receiver this year. But that's George Pickens. I think everything the Steelers have shown us this offseason is that they don't want George Pickens to be their wide receiver in the future. They've tried to get Brandon Ayuk. They've been involved in other wide receiver trades. They've been trying to do something because they don't want it to just be George Pickens. I like him at this point. George Pickens is probably not a guy I'm trading at this moment before the games start. But once Russell Wilson hits him with a nice touchdown, he has a big game in week one, I think is a guy you're going to want to be trading away, capitalize on the value he has this season. Because come next season, I don't know who they're going to bring somebody else into the wide receiver position based on how barren their current situation is. So I would get out while you can get possibly a top 10 dynasty wide receiver value for George Pickens. I would get out on that now. Despite if you're competing and maybe he's the guy that helps you win the championship, maybe you keep him. But if you're rebuilding, you definitely need to move George Pickens while he has wide receiver one fantasy value. You guys both in on moving Pickens?
Sure.
I mean, his value is pretty high right now as being the wide receiver one and probably the only receiver worth anything on that team right now, on a running team with a quarterback that, you know, maybe doesn't have it to get it down the field like he once did. So, yeah, it's you might want to try to move him while his value is extremely, extremely high.
Yeah.
I think what hurt them though is with Roman Wilson. You don't know who he is, what he is. You know, I think they really thought he was going to be a replacement for Deontay Johnson, and he's been hurt the whole time. So that kind of
rookies.
Plans.
Rookies do not perform too well when they've been hurt during training camp. So
exactly.
So I was big on Roman Wilson, but I've tempered my expectations for year one. I think it's all George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth this year, which is why he has value in Dynasty at the moment. But if the Steelers bring somebody in and they haven't really addressed their quarterback and future questions, it's really Dynasty-wise just not a player I want to be a part of. So even though I was trying to make moves for him earlier on in the offseason, I've tempered my expectations Dynasty-wise based on everything Pittsburgh has shown us is that they want another wide receiver after they move Deontay. So, yeah, George Pickens should be good this year, but I'm trying to move on. Jeff's guy here I think is interesting. I would not be trading away this guy as I have him in our Dynasty League.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, who are you trading away, Jeff?
Nope, it's going to shock a lot of people. It really is. Devin Achane. I would move him right now because his value is so high. But what people are missing is Mike McDaniels is kind of showing you his track record here. Mm-hmm. He's going to keep drafting top running backs. I mean, you got Jalen Wright there, who is another great running back. You still got Mostert that, you know, was able to get through a full season without being hurt. And I got a feeling, you know, he's just one of those guys that's a car collector. He's going to just keep bringing these guys in, and there's never going to be a guy that is a solid one guy. I honestly would keep Jahmyr Gibbs over him right now just because I think sooner or later Montgomery is either going to get hurt or they're just going to run him until he's dead, and he's going to be that guy that's RB1. But with Daniels, he's going to build a track team as often as he can. So if there's another fast running back next season that's in college that kind of slides down, you can go ahead and bet that third round he's grabbing them. So that's the only thing that bothers me. Plus, there's still a little bit of injury concerns there. He tends to get nicked up here and there.
The injuries
value is super sky high right now.
The injuries would be the only reason I would move Achane. I believe in his utilization in the offense, even though he may not be on the field for 70% of the time. He doesn't need to be. His targets at the running back position, 66% of the time he was the first read on his targets, which as a running back is unheard of. You're not normally the number one target in a read as the running back position. Achane was, and that was as a rookie. If he can get 2 to 3 more touches a game, he was already electric last year. He doesn't need to be on the field all the time. He can break a play anytime he touches the ball. So if Achane's your number one running back, sure, maybe you try and move him for a safer option. But I think Devon Achane is the perfect number 2 running back to have on a championship team. Still super young. He's going to be efficient with his touches, and he has that ability to have a 55-point game, which can win you a week. So I'm in on Devon Achane. He's actually my third running back behind Breece Hall and Jahmyr Gibbs in our Dynasty League. So I think right now I'm extremely happy playing Devon Achane in my flex. I think it gives me an advantage that not too many players in your Dynasty League can. Like 50-plus points, there's only a few players who can get to that position, and he is one of those guys. So I think right now, unless you're getting like multiple first-round picks and a player, I'm holding on to Devon Achane unless you're worried about the injuries. But I think he's got value in this offense. As Tyreek Hill gets older, they're using Achane in the slot. They brought in Jonnu Smith at tight end, but there's not really going to be tight ends taking away the targets. So if he split with Mostert's getting older, so maybe they'll bring in their new rookie as well, and he'll take some of Mostert's snaps. And then all Achane needs is like 2 more touches a game than what he had last year, and he's going to be consistent week in, week out, putting up probably running back 1 numbers, but just due to his inconsistency, you're probably going to have a couple down games. I would have him as my RB2 for sure.
And not as many people are as lucky as you, Zach, to have those 3 running backs on their
I'm pretty sure that's
their roster. So
skill. I don't know if that's luck as much as that's some dynasty talent right there, building a roster.
It definitely is.
But
I believe I was sniped for Achane last draft, the draft before last. But yeah.
Great second round value. Will, anything you want to say about Achane before we move on to your pick?
If I owned him and I had the right offer, I'd move him. Because I just looked at running backs. To me, I don't want to ever overvalue.
So if you had Achane, what would you take to move him? Would you move him for a first?
First and a player.
First and a player? A first and a starting player, obviously. The guy you can.
Or first with maybe another running back like Wright. Maybe if somebody owns Wright and they're trying to move him, they'll give me a first and Wright. Yeah, I'll make that trade. I want younger with more potential at running back.
I wish I had a first and Wright. I would trade you a first and Wright.
I would take it.
Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of like if you're getting that, I would hold him. Yeah. I think you can probably get 2 firsts for him at this point if you have a team.
I would take 2 firsts if the player that was being offered wasn't good enough. It would it has to be the right player for me. It depends where you are on your roster. If you're trying to build for the future and you can get picks in a player for the future, I'll take it. The only other way I want to tell Jeff is, Montgomery's the new Henry, right? Like that's what Montgomery is becoming. He's gonna frustrate Gibbs owners because he's gonna take touchdowns. This is what he's gonna do.
I don't know. I still think he is injury prone, as he proved last year. One of these injuries is going to be one of those things I think that slows him down. But like to Zach's point, and we're getting off the topic here, but Jahmyr Gibbs has that same ability to me as an Achane, and he gets more of a target share. He's a home run hitter. Yeah. Any percentage he gets. So
we saw last year, Gibbs is the best running back on that team. Sure, Montgomery's going to take a couple touchdowns, but Gibbs doesn't need the goal line work. Gibbs can score from the other side of the field. Doesn't matter. He's got that high-end speed, and he's got the ability to break those plays. So I would have Gibbs as my running back 2 on my Dynasty League, and then Achane is my number 3. Will, who are you trying to trade away?
Speaking of running back, if I have Saquon Barkley and someone gives me an offer I can't refuse, I'm moving him.
Mm-hmm. Are you nervous?
To me, I'm nervous.
Offense?
I'm nervous about the offense. I'm nervous about him. And I might eat crow for a year, but if I can get something that helps me build for the future, assets to build for the future, yeah, I would be moving him. I'm not sure about the Eagles, to be honest, because what happened at the end of last year, we want to see it, right? I need to see that they've corrected, that team is not what we saw at the end of last season, or you're buying into what was and you're not buying into what is.
Yeah, I have Saquon in one league. I've won the league 3 years in a row, so I cannot possibly move on from him. But if I am in any other situation, I would definitely I would be actively shopping Saquon Barkley because
right now
he's maybe got a year left.
Yeah.
That he could be good this year, but after that, I don't believe he has that standalone value where he's going to be another 2-3 year running back, being a number 1 running back. So if you can capitalize on the fact that he's now on an amazing offense with a good offensive line, I would move Saquon Barkley off.
And I think for dynasty owners, the fact that that's the Friday night game, and if he has a decent game to great, you really have a window there.
If he gets any goal line work, and they don't give it to Jalen Hurts, everyone's going to go crazy for Saquon Barkley after week 1.
Yeah, and you'll be able to maybe get 2 ones, depending on what team is. Someone feels like, hey, they're playing for championship. You might really be able to get good value for him that I don't think you get later in the year or next year.
Yeah, I definitely not next year. If you're going to move Saquon, move him before your trade deadline to a championship type team. Or if you trade him now, you can place a bet on which team is going that thinks they can compete, isn't going to compete, and get their first-round pick that might end up being an early first-round pick.
Yeah. And I think we should also talk about be mindful to get 2026 first-round picks in your dynasty. Because that draft is stacking up to be better than 25.
I'll be sending you an offer with a 2026 first-round pick for Justin Jefferson, Will. Don't you worry.
No, don't. That's okay. No.
There we go. There's 3 guys.
Trade for the New York Giants starting quarterback, Drew Lock here. But you need a quarterback.
Drew Lock.
He needs a starting quarterback week 1. He has the down the road starting quarterback.
Oh, I just got to get through the first couple of weeks.
I predict Daniel Jones is going to trip walking onto the field.
Get hurt.
Before the first play of the game, get hurt. Drew Lock is now your new starting quarterback.
There we go. There's 3 guys we are trading away in Dynasty. We just recorded a show. 3 guys we're trading for, so you can go check that one out as well. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks, Jeff and Will, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next week.
See you next week.